Hi everyone, welcome back to another Fusion 360 tutorial video, and say hi to our practice cube. He's coming back for another video, this time talking about dimensions. Now if you watched the other video that I showed you how to measure things using Fusion Team, that's great for collaboration, but it's not the official way to show dimensions in Fusion 360. Actually, what you need to do is create a design drawing. So to do that, we're going to go up to, it's actually up to here, in the top left, where there's a little page with an arrow key. And then from here, we're going to go to New Drawing, and we're going to choose From Design. And then we can choose a few different options on the right-hand side. First of all, whether you want it to be portrait or landscape. Second of all, which standard you want the design to be measured in. You have two options, ISO, which is the international standard, and ASME, which is the American standard. Now, American standard would have the 8.5 by 11 pages that we happen to use in Canada. So if you are going to plan on printing this out for reference, you'll probably want to stick to the ASME standard, but it's kind of dependent on the assignment and also on sometimes on your personal preference. Now, once you've decided those things, press OK, and it's going to open up another window. And in that window, it's going to ask us to place the first view. So this is called the base view. And so somewhere around here, we have to click, and once we click it, we have our base view. And then we can choose our scale for this view. Now, because it's such a small cube, we can actually, we want to fill the page. So we can do 1:1, or maybe even 2:1 as our scale. I'll keep it to 1:1 for now, just to keep it more simple. But depending on the size of the object, you'll want to choose a scale that's appropriate. The other thing is, you're going to want to choose a view type. You have options between visible edges, visible and hidden edges, and shaded, and then shaded with hidden edges. Those are all options, but by default it selects this, which is great, visible with hidden edges. And then the view angle. So we're going to choose the front view as our main view. Then we're going to press OK. Now it's created our first view, which you can move around. Then, from here, we're going to create another projected view. So we go over to the top left and we choose projected view. We click, and now it's going to create a projected view to the right side. And you can see as I move my mouse, I can actually choose different angles. So if I wanted an isometric view, I could project it up here and check the box. Then I can always move my views around. So I can move this, get my isometric view in there, so I can get things into position. If I wanted to have like an isometric view like this, so I have like my two standard views and I have an isometric view kind of off to the side. That might be good for this. You can also try to put the isometric kind of more in the corner. Like another typical way would be to have it be in the top right. That's the standard position for an isometric view. But these days, people are a little bit more flexible with how they arrange their views, especially with the rise of digital tools and the no longer a need to make this by hand. I can be a bit more flexible to fill the page how I see fit. Now that I have the views, I can actually go in and add the dimensions. So to add dimensions, I go up to the top and I have these dimensions. And there's even an auto dimension button. Now if you press auto dimension, it's going to give you what it thinks are the main dimensions that you need. Now you can choose from a few different options depending on, and you can also choose the density. So you can say less dense, and it's like less granular, like less information. The more, and then see how here it's less information again. If you go more, I'm getting more detail, and then the most granular gives me the most detail. So the auto dimension is pretty great. I can press OK to accept it, but then I can also go in and make changes to these, or I can move them around, reposition the dimensions by clicking and then grabbing these dots. That allows me to move the dimensions around. When I have a simple object like this, auto dimension is fantastic. But when I have a more complex object, auto dimension often makes a lot of mistakes. And in that case, you might need to use manual dimensions. So I'm going to show you that. In the case of a manual dimension, you go to the one that's beside. This is auto dimension. Then you have the manual one here. If I want to dimension something, I can click the edge, and then I click again, and now it's created a new dimension for me. That's basically the main way to do it. Now, if I wanted to dimension this hole, for example, I could click, I could do like from here to here, and now that's telling me that this is the height of this hole, which in fact is also the same as this, which they should be the same. That makes sense. So I could decide if I wanted to have it be a diameter or have it set up like this. It makes more sense to represent it as a diameter, so I'm going to delete that one. One other thing to do is if you double click these, on the right hand side, there's a bunch of other things you can change. One of the things I prefer if I'm dealing with inches is to do fractional inches. So that allows a little bit more of the conventional look when it comes to fractions. And I can choose the level of precision I want by going from 16ths to 32s. So if I go to 16ths, that is the actual accurate dimension, 9/16, rounded to the nearest 16th. And in my class, if you're in my drafting class, I would prefer that you go at the minimum 16th of an inch if you're doing inches, and then 2 decimal places for millimeters when you're giving dimensions. Now, I've set this up. I have this arranged the way I like. I've added dimensions the way I like. One thing I could do is double click this view, and I can adjust. Maybe I want to do like a shaded view instead. Maybe I like that. Well, that's cool. I get a different look, so it's kind of giving me a different thing. Or I could try this shaded with hidden edges, so it shows me how it goes through. That might be a nice appearance for this design. Another thing that you can adjust in this is you can add other extraneous views. So I could add like a cross section, I could add a perspective view, and all sorts of other types of views. And I'm going to show you some other examples of how those might be, when those might be useful. For now, this design is done. So if I wanted to save this, I should also go down here and double check the details here. So in here you have if you double click, you can change a lot of these things by hand. You can adjust the title, subtitle. The title should always be the name of the object itself. The subtitle would be the name of the assignment. So you have like, this would be My Awesome Cube, and then you have like Cube Practice Assignment, something like that. And then underneath you could have Drafting 12, for example. So that it's very clear what this is for. And if you were needing to submit multiple drawings, you would have to label them. So this is drawing 1 of 1. You might have multiple drawings. If you're told to put a code, then you would put it here. And then what I want is I want you in the approved and checked, I want you to write, you need to get another student to actually check your work. And you should put their name in the checked by section, okay? And you can leave the approved blank. That would be for me to approve the drawing, but you need to have someone check the work before you submit. So you'd have, let's say I got checked by Mr. Hamade to check my work, and then I put the date in the same format that I did before. So it would, if it was the same date, then you put that in. Now, in the case of accountability, obviously you could just put a name of any student you wanted, but be aware that I will be checking that so-and-so did actually approve it, especially if there are mistakes. So when you're putting your name down, that means that you've actually gone through and checked that everything lines up, that all the dimensions are correct, that there's nothing missing, there's no missing dimensions. Like for example, like what if we didn't have, I'm going to finish the property so I can go back to editing. What if we didn't have these dimensions? Like if I was missing, I just had this dimension and this dimension, right? Well, that's not done. Like I need enough, how do I know where this hole is, right? And technically, there's also one other thing missing, which is, I'm going to redo this. There's one other thing missing, which is actually, there's supposed to be a hole in here. And so to mark that it's a hole, I have to use something called a center mark. So here I choose center mark, click here, and now I have that nice, the center mark design that shows that this is in the, that's a hole that cuts through. And the other type is a center line. And so I should add a center line from here to here, showing that this goes through. Now I have my center marks and my center lines. This is correctly done, so you would only approve it after that. Then you save the drawing. It's going to go into the same location as the file is saved. So in this case, I'm going to show you where that gets saved. If you open up here, it's showing that that's located here, okay? And the other thing is, if you want to actually send this or upload it, you can export it as a PDF. So here I can press export, I can choose this sheet, and I press OK. And from there, I choose save to my computer, and I can choose a location like I have it in. This is how I generated those other drawings that we used. So in this case, I have Cube Practice Drawing V1, and in there, I have these other ones, and I save it there, and then you can attach that to an assignment. Now, the last part of this video, that's pretty much it. I just want to show you some more examples. So if you want to stick around for a couple more minutes, I'm going to show you some more examples of other uses or other more advanced techniques, like the cross-section, for example, and more advanced dimensioning. So in here, I have a lot of different designs that I've been working on, and one of those is the belt sander that I actually made some brackets for, and that's where one of that design challenges comes from, is this drawing here. So in here, I actually included a cross-section view. So you might notice that it's a bit different than the other views. That's because it actually cuts the model partway through. So if you look at the design, I wanted to be able to show kind of like what it looks like on the inside, which is kind of hard to tell unless you really are looking around. But in a 2D drawing, it's a bit hard to see that. So to make a cross-section, what you do is you create a breakout section view, and then you have to select the view. So I want to select this, and I have to make a profile. So I choose what I want to cut, and then I have to kind of choose the view like that, and then it's kind of creating a cross-section of it. So it's like, how much are you cutting? So you could actually, like, basically you start with the thing, you have to make a normal view first. So let's choose this one as an example. I need to pick something that's a bit more simple, I guess. Or I guess I could maybe do it over here. Why don't I just recreate what I did here? So what you do first is, if I want to make a cross-section, first I have to create a projected view. So I go here, I check that off. Then I have to create my breakout section view from this, and then I have to make a profile from here, and I click, 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 and I kind of click it around until I make sure I have it all selected and press check mark. And now I've created a cross-section of this, and then I can choose the depth that I want to cut in as well. So I can choose how deep I'm going. So right now I'm going 2 5/8 inches in, okay, which is approximately halfway. So that's creating, and then I know it's a cross-section because I can see these like hatched lines, okay? Now, not every design requires a cross-section, but designs that are more complicated, where they have like geometry on the inside and on the outside, do require cross-sections. So that's one type of view that you can make. Another type of view that's kind of useful, so I'm going to undo my changes so I don't lose them all. Another type of view that's useful is a perspective view. So you can create a perspective view anywhere you like, and then you choose the angle. So I can choose like an isometric, or like if I want to go like this, and then I can change the focal length to like a wide focal length, and then I can change this to like 1:1, for example, so you see it better. So this is giving me like a different sort of angle, kind of more like what it looks like in the actual design. I'll put the isometric kind of side by side so you can have a comparison. The isometric, if I create a projected view like this, you have, well, I'm trying to get it to show the exact same, oops. An isometric view, I'm going to try to get this to be at the same angle, and we'll do it the same lines. I can't change the angle as easily. But you can see that the isometric, the lines are straight. So like these lines and these lines are straight, but on the perspective view, none of the lines are straight. I can also change these to both be solid if I wanted to. Basically, a perspective view gives you the most like realistic looking angle, so it's kind of nice for creating like a finished looking model. But isometric is a little bit more precise in terms of what it might be. Oh, I'm getting some security alerts. Uh-oh. It doesn't like that. Uh-oh. Did I crash it? We'll see. Anyway, I think that's enough for today, since I somehow crashed Fusion 360. So that's another rule of always making sure you save your work. And with that, I'll let you try out making a drawing of this before you try making a more complex design drawing. Good luck, and catch you on the next one.